Hi, this is Jenna.
And this is Kelly.
And you're listening to ODFM.
This episode is One Dating App from Murder.
This is why I'm glad I'm not on a dating app.
Yes, and this is why we do not want to be on dating apps anymore. I'm moving you up on the screen there.
Oh dear.
I know. Okay, so this is the story of Nicole White. She's a 28-year-old, recently single mother of two, which seems really young to me.
How old? 28?
28, single mother of two. Yeah. She's from Orting, Washington. Orting? Orting,
okay.
Yes.
Orting, Washington.
Orting, Washington.
Yeah, and you got two young kids at home. Yeah, I mean, dating app would be the way to go, right?
I know. You think it's,
oh, God.
you think, So it's 2015, so it's not long ago.
Okay.
And at this point, Nicole's sons are only 8 and 4.
Yeah. Where else are you going to, parent-teacher conferences? Like, where are you going to meet people? Like...
I know. Yeah, not traditional ways. The bar or church.
Mm-hmm.
Or the church bar.
The church bar. That's not a bar.
Oh.
That's supposed to be communion.
Whoops. I've been doing it wrong.
When are they passing out the snacks? It's not snacks. It's not.
Can I have another
Right,
Jesus' blood, please?
Right. Why are you being so stingy? Give me like a
blood.
handful. And here's where we go to hell.
Yes.
Sorry, Mom.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so Nicole and the boy's dad, her son's dad, are going through a bitter custody battle over the kids. So that sucks too.
Yeah, seriously.
Luckily for Nicole, her family all lives nearby. So her mom and her dad, they're divorced, but they have different houses. They're close. Her sister's there, her best friend. So she's got a lot of support. And in fact, to save money and for the extra help, Nicole lives with her mom.
Oh, okay.
So that she can help with the boys, save money while she's working. And she's looking for a good job to support her family. But in the meantime, her family's helping her. She's got, I think, a retail job. So, it doesn't pay great, but she's looking for something a little better. Orting, where she lives, is a small rural area with a population between 7,000 and 8,000 people. So very small.
Very small.
Yes. A river runs through it, fed from Mount Rainier. And it's gorgeous, like tree-filled, forested, gorgeous area. Area of low crime and where most people know one another.
Then why are we doing this story?
I know.
What do you mean low crime? We don't do low crime.
No, this is a high crime podcast.
Yes, exactly.
Since it is a low crime area and most people know each other, Nicole's excited to raise her boys there. And Nicole's dad, Eddie Nieto, I think, describes her as kind, vibrant, and loving, and always available to help others.
Aww.
I know. Her best friend, Carrie, said Nicole always described herself as Irish Mexican. So her mom is this super white, blonde, Irish gal, and her dad's Mexican. And so she's like this combination, an Irish Mexican. So
wonder which skin did she get? Did she get she can be out in the sun, or did she get
she got the good combo.
Did she get the good combo?
She can be in the sun.
She can. Oh,
I know. She is unlike us. I know. Unlike us.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. And she was super tiny. She's only 4'9" tall.
Whoa.
I know. So she's
my 11-year-old is taller than her.
I know. She's itty bitty, but she's so cute and super fun.
Probably spunky.
Super spunky. Yep.
Okay. I can picture her.
She's super spunky, funny. Everyone loves her, outgoing. But the divorce she's going through has been really hard on her. And she's really down about it. But she'll do anything for her kids. They're keeping her going, as a mom. Her family says she's always been mentally strong, so they knew she'd be fine once things got settled. So they're not worried. They're just going to be there for her and help take care of her. Nicole, at this point, she decides she wants to put herself out there again into the dating scene. So she gets on dating apps, and her sister's worried about her being vulnerable with all the dangers online, obviously. And her sister, her name's Melissa, made sure to warn her about online dating dangers and all of that kind of stuff. But Nicole was smart. She's like, no. I got this. I know what to do. I know how to be careful. I'm not going to let fear hold me back. I need to get myself out there again.
Oh, no.
She's not looking for anything super serious, but she just wants to dip her toes in the water, see what's out there.
See what's out there outside of the 7,000 people. There's got to be somebody else out there.
There's got to be somebody out there.
She knows all them.
She's like, I've known you all forever, so.
Right.
Nicole and her friend Carrie had fun together going through her potential dates and their profiles, laughing at some and being like,
yes.
This guy's hot. This guy sucks.
I've done that for my friend. I was like, let me see that. Nope,
No.
yes, nope, yeah. And she's like, what are you saying? And I'm like, don't worry about it. I got this.
Exactly. And that's what Carrie was for her. It was perfect. So eventually Nicole comes across a profile she liked. His name's John Harris. He's 29, so...
Johns have not worked very well in this podcast. I'm just going to put that out there.
Good point. You're right.
Johns have not come out good in this podcast.
You're right.
So his name was John what?
John Harris.
Harris.
He's 29, so he's just her age that she needs. And he's exactly her type. She's attracted to the rugged, outdoorsy hunter type. And that's exactly what John was.
Okay.
John and his friend Matt Martino had been friends for about 10 years, and they're both bouncers at the same bar.
Oh, okay.
And Matt, his friend, describes John as, and I thought this was great, he's a, quote, big, dumb country boy.
That is terrible, but I know. I can envision him. I got it.
That's a good friend right there.
He's a
big, dumb country boy. Whose friends called him Big John.
Oh, no.
I know. We've done Big John before.
We've been down this road.
This is a different Big John.
It did not turn out well. Okay.
I know. So this John is 6'8" tall. Remember Nicole's 4'9". Huge.
I'm just picturing the logistics of it all, and it's not.
Right. This is a large man. Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So apparently John's on tons of dating sites. Matt said that John has a flock of women always on deck because he's very outgoing, super flirty, and he's good looking.
Okay.
So he has no lack of girls he likes to date.
His nickname is Big John.
John. I mean, how are you going to resist? So Nicole starts chatting with him online. She's doing it safely first, just chatting with online. She really likes how he's presenting himself. He's funny, he's nice, he's charming. And after getting to know each other through their online and phone chats, John asks Nicole if they could meet in person.
Okay.
Nicole's kind of guarded, but she's excited. She tells her sister, I'm seeing someone and we're going to go on a super casual date, nothing formal or stressful or fancy. Instead, they go to the bar that John and Matt work as bouncers. Which I was like, I guess that's okay. I mean, at least it's a safe spot,
Yeah, it was a public location.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Witnesses. Okay.
People know him really well there, so.
Yeah, okay.
John told Matt he's bringing a cute little gal to the bar that night.
Cute little gal, like I could fit her in my pocket.
Yeah. I got my pocket girlfriend.
Right.
And that they're going to hang out and maybe play some pool there because it's like a bar and pool.
Okay.
So the bar they meet at is called Jeepers.
like creepers? Like Jeepers Creepers?
Creepers, yeah. So they meet at Jeepers, and John's friend Matt is the bouncer on duty that night.
Okay.
So he's able to get a good look at John's date. So Nicole, being as teeny as she is, and John being as ginormous as he is, he's like laughing about the distinction between them. He's like, holy shit. Bet. Their size discrepancy didn't bother the couple, though.
Okay.
Matt saw them flirting and laughing, and they had lots of drinks and bar food, and they're having a blast. So their first date seems to be a success.
Okay.
And after the date, Nicole gets home. She tells her family.
Well,
she tells all her fans. They probably are. They're friends and family.
Right.
She tells all her fans about John and says he's a nice, normal guy and reassured him that she'd done everything right. She met him in public, told everyone where she's going, just like everyone's warns her to do. So her
Although I feel that, like, on a first meeting, it's way too soon to say anyone's normal.
Right.
I feel like that's a little quick.
That's true. They seem normal, maybe. Maybe you just don't know.
No one lets their full crazy out on the first date.
No. Of course not.
You
would never get it. Yeah, you would never get a second date.
Right,
you know?
Exactly.
So her family and friends are happy for her, and it seems like life's on the upswing for Nicole.
Okay,
finally, she's going through so much, and they're just like, great, I'm glad for you. You're confident. This is great. So the couple continues to message and talk, and they decide, let's meet up again for another date, and this is a couple weeks later. So it's, they've taken their time. Again, John takes her to Jeepers. I mean, I was thinking,
know that there's other places, right?
I know. Maybe you can branch out a little. Maybe not. Maybe there's it is a small place. I don't know.
I guess that's true, too.
Maybe that's the only bar.
Okay.
She's okay with it.
Okay.
So before the date, Nicole's friend Carrie comes over and helps her pick out outfits to wear. They go through the closet and choose different things.
Okay.
And Nicole keeps begging Carrie to go because John knows everybody there, and Nicole's like, come on, it'd be so much fun for you too. I just want you there too, because we could have fun and you could go along and all that kind of stuff. And Carrie's like, I'm not in the mood. I don't want to go out tonight. So she's like, okay. So she goes alone. I think she kind of wanted a friend. You know how John probably knew everybody in the bar.
Oh, yeah. So why don't you come too?
Yeah.
Although I would feel weird about, you want me to come with on your second date?
I know, right?
What would that be?
I thought of that too. Like, oh. But since he's always hanging out in crowds, she's like, oh, what's another person?
But I also know, like, if I'm not in the mood to go out, you don't want me out. I'm going to be not fun.
Yeah. Boring. Yeah. And just like watching the clock. Okay. Can I just go now? Yeah. That's me too. So Nicole told her mom that she'd be home by midnight or soon after because she had to work the next day at her retail job. And going out wasn't unusual for Nicole, but she's always super responsible. Her mom was quoted as saying she played hard, but she worked hard too. So she was always on time to work.
Okay.
Always responsible.
I don't know what that's like, but that sounds nice.
Yeah. So the next day was June 7th of 2015. And at 6 a.m., Nicole's mom woke up and she gets up and she looks for Nicole through the house. And she's like, she's not here. So she thought, well, maybe Nicole got here early and slipped out to work early because she did have an early shift. So then she calls Nicole's work to see if she was there, but she hadn't shown up for her shift. And that's when she knew something super wrong because she never misses work. So at about 7 a.m. the same morning, Nicole's sister became concerned when Nicole hadn't shown up to drop off her son for her to watch. She watches Nicole's kids while Nicole's at work. And she didn't show up. So her phone rang, and it's Nicole's friend Carrie asking if she'd seen or talked to Nicole. Because Carrie was terrified she hadn't heard from Nicole because she was like, after the date, usually Nicole calls me right away. I get all the details. She didn't call. Have you heard from her?
She has this close support system.
Yeah. They're on top of shit.
Yeah. I mean, that's nice. Not that it seems to have helped in this situation.
They're all kind of freaking out because she'd never leave her son or not show up to work. So she wouldn't be the type to run off. So on a cliffhanger, let's take a break.
Oh, come on.
God damn it. I want to know.
Okay. Do you experience digital eye strain from too much blue light exposure from digital screens? Baxter Blue glasses are not your average frames. These blue light lenses filter 80% of the highest energy blue light, eliminating 99% of glare. The past year, we have all been glued to our devices more than ever.
Yeah, no joke. My phone keeps telling me that my screen time has skyrocketed within the last year. So, yeah. Our exposure to digital light has soared, and our eyes and our sleep are suffering as a result. Baxter Blue is also a force for good and provides a pair of reading glasses for someone in need for every pair sold. This is eyewear built for our digital age, and Baxter Blue is giving our listeners 10% off your next purchase of blue light, sleep, or kids glasses. Click the link in our show notes for your exclusive discount.
This is the sign you've been waiting for to invest in blue light glasses. We know you will love your Baxters, and we know that you will feel the difference.
So, with no word from Nicole or sighting of her car, her mom reported her missing to the police. So they didn't even see her car anymore. John Delgado is the detective sergeant for the local sheriff's department. He gets in on the investigation into Nicole's disappearance, and they start investigating right away.
Good,
So they didn't
okay.
do any of this 24-hour, 48-hour
Oh, good,
shit.
yeah. Or well, she may have just stayed out all night.
She might have run off.
Maybe she got lucky and she didn't come home,
Right. A mom's going to at least call.
Yes, right.
Staying at a friend's or something.
Mm-hmm.
But they figure out Jeepers is the last place Nicole was seen by friends and acquaintances. Matt, John's friend, the bouncer, saw Nicole and John while on their second date at Jeepers on the evening in question. He said the couple arrived together, entered the bar together, and at the beginning of the night, he said Nicole's in a great mood and she seems like she's having fun. And it's crazy because the bar has perfect surveillance system, like great CCTV.
Really?
And they showed a bunch of it. They show the video of them, and it's wild to see how much bigger John is than Nicole. So you actually get to see it in the CCTV. And at one point, they even show him like resting his forearm on her head as a joke because he's so much bigger than her, and she's laughing, and yeah, they're having fun.
Okay.
And according to Matt, John and Nicole were drinking quite a bit. John far more than Nicole, but by no means stumbling drunk.
Right. Well, I would assume being that much taller, he could probably handle a little more alcohol than she could.
Yeah, for sure. I would hope. So they stayed there for about 4 hours. And at closing time, Matt lets him know that it's time to go so he can close up. He gives Nicole a big hug and shakes John's hand. At that time, he said he could tell John was pretty heavily drunk by this time.
Okay.
Still able to walk.
Okay. I guess that's good.
He can walk out of the bar. Matt watches the couple get into Nicole's Dodge Neon, and then that's the last he sees of them. So
wait a minute, this 6'8" guy fit in a Dodge Neon?
I know. I didn't even think of that. You're right.
I've seen those cars. They're small.
They're pretty darn small.
Did they lay the seat down and he just laid in there?
I was going to say they probably just had to remove an entire section of the car.
Right? Or maybe hers had a sunroof and
it could stick out the top.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to know that she was driving. If she was
driving, yes. He was pretty far
more
gone,
inebriated than she was.
Yeah. So her family and friends made posters immediately and began spreading the news all around town. Friends and strangers gathered to start searching for her right away. And the searches became so big that about 150 to 200 people were combing fields and areas around the town for any signs of Nicole. And this is forested area.
Wow.
So
that's a good chunk of the town too, because the town does not have that big of a population.
Yeah, it's a third of the town.
The town that's between the ages of 18 and 60 that could actually go.
Yes. June 7th, the day after her disappearance, detectives had gone to interview John at his house, of course. Okay. So they want to get his versions of the timeline of their date and what happened afterwards. And so I watched a show about it. And in this interview, they even mentioned how shockingly huge John is when they go and talk to him. They said his hands are so massive that they would swallow up their hands when they shook them. It was like shaking a Bigfoot's hand or something. And they're like, Jesus Christ, this dude is huge.
This is Washington, right? Bigfoot is supposed to be.
Maybe this is Bigfoot. Relation? It could be. And maybe he just shaved. You never know.
Totally.
He just cleaned up a little.
It just cleaned up a little.
So when they spoke to John, he claimed he had asked Nicole for a ride home that evening. She said no problem, but reminded him that she had to work in the morning, so she wouldn't be doing anything but dropping him off.
Mm-hmm. Okay. If he could get back out of the car.
Yeah, exactly. She's probably
right.
Can we get the jaws of life?
Right.
And so he says that she took him down to a convenience store to grab something he'd wanted. Okay. He goes in and she stayed in the car, but when he comes back out, Nicole had taken off without him. He's like, oh.
What?
He says that he used the phone at the convenience store to call her. Dude, where'd you go? I could use a ride home.
That's really strange. Yeah.
Yeah. But it sounds like she didn't answer, or he left a message and she didn't answer. So detectives ask him, which phone did you call from? And he's like, it was the payphone outside of the convenience store.
They still had a payphone in 2015?
That's what he says. Yeah.
That's impressive.
So he says, well, Nicole didn't come back to pick him up, so he had to walk all the way back to his house, which took him 3.5 hours.
Does he not have any other friends?
I know. He says it's between 2 and 3 in the morning. So he's like, I didn't want to wake anyone up. I decided to walk home. John lived 6 miles from the store.
He walked inebriated. He walked 6 miles. Although I'm guessing his strides are a lot bigger than mine.
That's true. I mean, he is Bigfooty.
Right. It took him still less time than it would have taken me.
Yeah,
but
for sure me. Plus, I mean, it's
6 miles.
It's in the middle of the night. And side note, he's wearing cowboy boots. Not the best walking shoes.
No. When did Uber start being like a popular thing?
I mean, this is 2015.
I'm trying to think. 2015.
I don't know.
Was Uber a thing?
Yeah, and plus it's a tiny town, so they might not have had.
They had the one Uber guy, and he was off that night.
He's like, I'm in bed.
It's Bob, and Bob's off.
Bob's like, nope. Maybe Bob was searching.
Yeah, right.
So investigators had a hard time believing John walked 6 miles in cowboy boots in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So they asked John, you have any clue where Nicole is or her car? Because we haven't even found her car anywhere. And he's like, no, I have no clue, So they begin pushing him harder and harder. And he starts like sweating and breathing really hard. And they're like, whoa, what's happening? Why are you okay? And he's like, it's just a lot to take in. I have panic attacks and I'm having one now. And so they're like, okay. And they have to stop the interview because his reaction is so overwhelming. They're afraid like he's having heart problems or something. It's so dramatic. So detectives head down to the store to check out John's story. And guess what?
What?
No phones.
You know why? Because there are no payphones in 2015.
Exactly.
Damn it.
I know.
No payphones.
It's because there's no more payphones.
My kids don't know what a payphone is.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, yeah, I see no phones at all. Other than probably inside. So at the store, detectives recovered the surveillance video as well. And though John claimed to have been at the store, no sign was found of him on the tapes at all. So he hadn't been at that store. So they already caught him in a lie.
Oh.
On June 8th, it's day 2 of her disappearance.
Okay.
Police get their first break. They find Nicole's car. And so police bring in their canine units to search the wooded expanse her car's discovered in. Hearing about the find, her family wondered if Nicole was in an accident possibly and got lost in the forest. Maybe she started walking home, but being tipsy.
Into Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Like the actual one, not
the
John?
Actual one, not
the
John
actual,
Bigfoot.
Right.
Yeah, they're thinking, well, maybe she's drunk and she's walking in the dark and did she somehow wander off into the woods. I mean, it is huge forest.
Oh, okay.
So strangely, Nicole's vehicle is found pinned between 2 trees.
What?
Pinned. And so detectives are like, this does not look like a real accident. I mean, it would be really hard to accidentally get pinned right perfectly in between these 2 trees. So they think it's staged. They think someone intentionally put it where it is. And the tracking dogs lead the detectives up a hill past where her car is to some retention ponds.
Oh.
So they drain 40,000 gallons of water from the retention ponds to search for her. But there's no sign of her or any evidence. So, I mean, they're doing everything they can possibly do. Oh, my God. So far, they only have one suspect. But they didn't want to fall into the trap of tunnel vision,
Oh, but yes, right.
How many of them do?
Good for them.
But with John's story not adding up, they take him down to the station to photograph him, just in case.
Yeah. It's smart.
So they have him pull up his shirt and have him wear shorts, and he is covered in scratches. He's got scrapes from his knees all the way to his elbows, on his sides, and even on his back. And they were asking him, dude, what happened? He wouldn't say anything. He refused to explain.
I crawled the 6 miles.
Yeah.
Through the brush. What? Oh, my God.
So police this time are like,
interesting.
He's good for
and
this.
And he's just like, what? You guys don't all look like this too? It's just how I look.
I'm a bouncer. I had to bounce.
I had to bounce. Right. I'm really a Bigfoot. I'm really a Yeti. And I shaved. And I gouged myself in the process.
Severely, because I have to use a giant shaving brush. Not one of those puny little things. Yes. Right. So they think he's good for it, but they can't arrest him. They don't have a body.
They don't have anything.
They don't have any evidence. So now it's the 13th of June, and Nicole's been missing for 7 days.
Oh, my God.
So police at this point are able to get a warrant because of the pictures of his wounds and stuff for John's home. His house is in an area super close to an army base, and for this reason, the FBI gets involved.
Oh.
So apparently, whenever there's a crime near an army base, the FBI has jurisdiction because it's federal land.
But it wasn't on the army base.
No, but it was close enough, that they could kind of edge it to that.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Let's have them help. So the FBI has at their disposal tools that regular police and investigators don't have. Right? So they're like, yes, come on in. Help us out. So they found a reason to detain John, but it wasn't for murder. When the FBI searched his home, they found hundreds of weapons parts and thousands of rounds of ammunition. Like a shit ton. Yeah. So the ammunition, and I didn't know this seems weird to me, but the ammunition was manufactured out of state. So once it came into Washington state, it was deemed unlawful possession of ammunition, which is a federal crime. Isn't that weird? I would think, like, isn't all ammunition probably made somewhere else and brought in?
I never heard that each state had its own ammunition before. That
seems weird to me. So something's strange.
Okay. All right.
So they're able to grab John for that charge.
Okay. Well, whatever.
Yeah, as long as you get something, yeah. So John's like super arrogant, and in his mugshot, he's like smirking. He's like, I got nothing to worry about. They got nothing.
That's going to come back to haunt you if you smirk in your mugshot. That's never a good move.
So having John in jail and out of the way gave detectives valuable time to gather further evidence against him for Nicole's disappearance. In the garage, during their search, they found blood-stained clothing, and that was sent in for evidence. Dun, dun, dun. Yes. And police went and interviewed Matt, John's friend from the bar. I like how I wrote this. They learned more details. Got darn it. And they learned more details about the night of John and Nicole's date. Matt revealed that on the night in question, he'd seen something in John he hadn't seen previously. And they had been friends for 10 years, and he hadn't really seen this.
Okay.
So a former girlfriend of John's arrived at Jeepers, accompanied by her new boyfriend that same night of their date, of John and Nicole's date, and John's mood and demeanor completely changed.
This is why go somewhere else. There's got to be at least 2 bars in the town, right? I mean, oh my God.
You might run into your ex that you still have feelings for.
Oh, snap.
He still had feelings, but she had clearly moved on. And Matt said there was a point in the night where John was sitting by himself in the outdoor patio area of the bar, stewing and angry, and he grabbed a beer bottle and smashed it on the ground.
Oh my.
Matt, since he's on duty, goes out there and he's like, dude, you can't do this shit, And so...
And you should know.
Right. You work here too. Yeah. And so
right.
In reaction to that, John grabs another bottle and he throws it across the yard and smashed it on the brick wall.
Oh, he was not in his right mind at all.
So Matt's like, dude, knock it off, which is totally going to be hard to say to somebody who's your really good friend and then this gigantic behemoth of a guy. So he's just like, dude was losing it. He was pissed.
Oh my God. Okay.
So Matt, the police are like, whoa, do you have any way to contact this ex-girlfriend? And Matt's like, yeah, let me get you in touch. So
we all know each other.
let me get you her number. So they get a hold of her, and she said she and John had met in 2010, and they dated off and on for 5 years before calling it quits in 2015. So it had been really pretty recent.
Oh, they just ended it.
Yes. So she said she could tell John was upset that night at the bar.
Why did she take her new boyfriend to the bar where she knows her ex-boyfriend works?
I'm guessing maybe she wanted to kind of rub it in a little, but who knows? Or maybe it's the only place to go in town at all.
They don't have an Applebee's or anything. I mean, come on.
I don't know. McDonald's.
Yeah, Fridays. Just,
Maybe McDonald's. Walmart. So let's have our date at Walmart because that is romantic.
Oh, God.
We'll pick out bath salts and
we'll pick out bath salts.
What else is that at Walmart?
Some of them have a Subway in there. I mean,
I don't know. That might be too highfalutin.
Oh yeah, okay.
They could get a roasted chicken, a rotisserie chicken.
Get a rotisserie chicken, and buy a blanket and some lawn chairs and do a picnic.
Yes, on the lawn outside of Walmart, near the bums. Yeah. The bums hang out. Anyway, so the ex-girlfriend, she also gave a golden nugget of information they thought might lead them to Nicole.
Oh.
But we have to take a break. So
come on.
we'll come back. It's just like
I'm a co-host. Do I get to know?
No, you have to wait 30 seconds.
Just kidding. I have to wait too? Like a commoner?
Like a commoner. Like a peasant. A measly peasant.
Do you own a small business or make cool and unusual handcrafted items?
We love artists and small business owners, and we would be stoked to help you get the word out about yours.
Consider advertising with us through this podcast. It's super affordable, and our podcast reaches every corner of the U.S. and even worldwide.
To find out more, visit odfmpodcast.com and click on the Advertise with Us link.
Let's get your creativity into the hands of people who would love it.
All right, so John's ex-girlfriend told police something they hoped would lead them to find Nicole. She said that while she and John were dating, they would drive home from Jeepers, because that's where they went to. Apparently that's where everybody goes.
He is a one-trick pony, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's like, this is where I'm going to be taking
This is the place everyone. I know.
Yes. This is the only place I will ever go. So she said that when they would come home from Jeepers, they would use a route that would make it less likely to run into cops.
In case they were a little tipsy.
Yeah, a little tipsy.
Okay.
After a night of drinking. And she said that every time they would pass a certain area on that route, John would comment on how it'd be the perfect place to bury a body.
What?
I know. And he would say it every time.
Weird.
I know, it's a little weird.
I'm sorry. That's...
Every time.
That's
I mean, I can
weird.
understand once in a while, like, you know, I've thought of that before when I'm like walking a trail or something, be like, damn, that cave would be a great place for a body. I'm not going near it because that might have a body.
Yeah, right.
Not that I would put a body there, but
odd thing to say out loud every time.
Every time. And yeah, when you kind of start to forget, maybe that's why they broke up. I don't know.
Maybe that's why. Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh.
So guess where the cops go?
I'm gonna guess it's that spot.
Yeah, you're so good. Oh my God.
I've been doing this podcast for a while now. So.
We've learned a lot. So John's ex-girlfriend, along with her new boyfriend, drove down to the area with the cops with all their windows down. And they're driving, and this stench comes in through the windows. Like the breeze blows in the exact area that John
I think
mentioned.
we're onto something.
Yeah. So the investigator gets out. He's like, you guys stay in the car. I'm going to go search around. And he searches and he searches and he finds a dead dog.
What?
A dead dog. Whew. So it wasn't a body, but a dead dog. So, isn't that bizarre? In the exact spot.
Yeah. This is a great place to bury a pet.
I know. Isn't that weird? So they're forced to go back to the drawing board.
Man, I thought we were onto something here.
I know. So did they.
She wasn't under the dog, was she? Because that would be a good cover.
That would be. Dang. They probably just didn't check hard enough. He's
right?
like,
Because you're like,
dead
oh
dog,
no,
I'm
it's
out.
a dog. And, it's actually double smell and you don't know.
Oh, good point. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So meanwhile, friends and family are exhausted. They've been searching in 90-degree weather.
Oh my God.
I know, not giving up hope this whole time. And police felt like they knew most of the answers, but couldn't prove anything.
It's not going to hold up in court.
No. And for everybody, sleeping at night was a struggle. Even the police, could not get her out of their mind. And they continued with their police dogs searching the wide expanse of the area around her car. So a little description of this. It's one of the largest mountains in the U.S., and the forest that surrounds it is so immense that you could walk for weeks and not come across a road or another person. It's absolutely beautiful, but it's like a total dead end. So
I keep thinking of as Blair Witch. If we just keep walking in the same direction, we'll get out. And then they keep coming to the same damn log.
Yes, so creepy. And this place, they showed kind of a big picture of it. And it's like looking at all of Canada or something. And you're
my gosh.
There's no way you could find a single person in all this. But never giving up, the lead detective scoured every piece of information he had already gathered to try to find something that had been missed. And finally, While John's car is being searched, the detective gets a call about a device found in the car. So if you're convicted of a DUI, you may be forced to get a device installed in your car known as an interlock device.
Oh.
And you have to breathe into that to prove you're sober before your car will even start. John had one of these because
But
he had
not
a DUI.
installed in his car, just...
He did have it installed in his car. And that's probably why Nicole drove that night.
Oh.
When you breathe into the device, it takes a picture of you too. But it also randomly takes a photo because it's got to make sure it's you breathing into it. Like you don't have some accomplice with you.
Oh, okay. That makes... I'm like, why would it take your picture? Like...
They want to make sure it's you driving.
That makes sense.
And it'll only start if you're sober.
It
but
also
it also
randomly takes
pictures while you're driving. Just
of whoever the driver is?
Mm-hmm. Make sure you didn't pull off the side and let someone else drive or something. So
I did not know that.
I didn't either. Oh, and along with those photos, it takes down a date and time and GPS coordinates of where you're at. So they quickly download all the information from John's interlock device, and they go through the photos and accompanying timestamps, and it showed John drove the car in the evening of June 7th, the day after Nicole had disappeared.
The day after she disappeared. Okay.
And it gave the cops the area he was at. They found from the photos the exact area he's at in the woods that evening. He went out into the woods, and it took pictures, and they could see in the background the exact area he was at, plus the GPS coordinates were close. Okay. And that night was the first night of her disappearance. So June 6th, they went out. June 7th, starts at midnight. Yeah. It was that night. Okay. So the area John had been in is not one that people frequent, but because of the technology, they knew where to go look. So it's kind of cool. But what a dumbass also. Like, dude. And obviously he had to blow into it to get somewhere. So they brought in cadaver dogs who worked the area for 4 days. I mean, even though they could pinpoint where he was
even though they pinpoint.
It was so heavily wooded. But on that 4th day, which was Father's Day, they came to a spot in a heavily wooded area where dogs pointed to something wrapped in painter's canvas. Under the canvas, wrapped in a tarp, severely decomposed, was Nicole's body.
Oh, my God.
So she had laid dead for 2 weeks, having been tossed down an embankment off the side of the road. It was like a 10-foot embankment, so she had gone quite a ways.
Oh, my God. So it would have been pretty far from the car. So it took and they found her on Father's Day?
On Father's Day. But her dad is like one of the most positive people I'd ever seen. He said it was a gift to him on Father's Day to find her because...
Rather than not know.
Yeah. He said the missing and not knowing was so much harder.
Oh, my God.
That it was almost like a Father's Day gift to know that they could have her back. Ugh, it was horrifying.
It's still a terrible Father's Day gift.
I know. Terrible Father's Day in general. Ugh. So they send Nicole in for an autopsy. And when the autopsy is complete, what the family was to find out was even more devastating news.
Oh, God.
So the ME revealed that Nicole suffered terribly before her death. Like, most painful death anyone could go through. In fact, the examiner said it was one of the most brutal cases she'd ever seen. And I mean, she's a pretty well-known medical examiner.
Right. It's not her first time. She's
seen a lot of shit. And Nicole suffered extensive skull and sternum, or her collarbone fractures. Her eye socket was fractured. She had rib fractures, a lower forearm fractures, multiple fractures in her hands.
Oh, my God.
The examiner said her chest injuries had been the result of being stomped on. So they weren't able to say if any other weapons had been used, but substantial force had been applied. And John was big enough and she was small enough that it's possible he beat her and stomped her to death.
Oh, my God.
I know. Her injuries were far beyond what it would have taken to kill her. So it was just like beyond overkill. Ugh, poor girl. I can't even imagine how painful. Ugh. But John continued to maintain his innocence, and he tried to create an alibi, leaving messages on Nicole's phone after the attack. And he had messaged a friend asking if he had been in a fight, which was assumed it was kind of his way of trying to come up with an explanation for all his injuries.
For all of his injuries?
Like, dude, I totally don't remember. Was I in a fight last night? Yeah, you kind of were, but...
Big dumb cowboy.
Yes, big dumb cowboy. So more damning evidence came after the search of his house. Analysis with luminol found the floor and walls splattered with blood. And it came back from the labs as having been Nicole's. And the bloody clothing they had found at John's house turned out to be the sweatshirt he'd been wearing as jeepers, as they saw in the video surveillance. So this is the one that had the blood on it.
Oh, my
God. That he left in the garage. Yeah. Big dumb John. Investigators also searched his laptop, and they found unconventional searches he had done for things like murder, suffocation, rape, forced molesting rape. I mean, weird shit.
What?
And when Matt heard about this, his friend, he's like, whoa, I never knew he was into this kind of stuff. Like, he never talked about anything like that. So it's almost like it was a little more premeditated than they assumed at first.
Oh, like maybe it wasn't just a reaction to the ex. I mean, it was, but
it was something he'd been kind of fantasizing about. Wow. Oof. So one psychologist that was reviewing the case said that John was a man of great rage and anger, and he had developed fantasies about directing that rage into the sexual realm. And the internet became a tool to explore those sexual fantasies, and that he was basically a time bomb ready to go off.
Oh my God.
So that's
and the ex-girlfriend lit the match.
Yes.
Shit.
So now they finally have Nicole's body, her DNA, and blood at John's house. And John was charged with murder in the 2nd degree on June 23rd of 2016.
Because they didn't want to do premeditated?
Yeah, I think originally they did that. And I read something later that I think they might have changed it to 1st degree.
Okay.
After finding all the
fun stuff on his laptop?
Yeah.
Although, to be honest, for researching for this podcast, I don't have some good stuff on my laptop.
Yeah, mine's going to look really damning if I do anything. It's going to be like, oh, look at what she was looking at.
Be sure to tell them that I did a podcast.
I know. Tell them I wasn't wanting to do these things. I was researching these things.
This was research. It was.
I know. The family and friends were anxious about seeing him at trial, of course. Carrie, Nicole's friend, attended the trial and said John was super arrogant, smirking, almost laughing at things people were saying, somehow thinking he's still going to get away with everything because he's a big dumb cowboy.
Obviously. I don't know what he thought he had going for him.
But after being presented with the weight of evidence, John pled guilty.
Oh, well,
finally, he was like, oh, okay, they do know a little bit.
Yeah.
And on Halloween of 2016, John was sentenced to 26 years in jail.
Almost as many years as she was old.
Oh, God, how sad.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what the police think happened. Nicole took John home that night, and she was a caring person, and she didn't want to leave him alone. He's big and drunk, and she's like, he's not going to find his way home. I'm going to take him home. Mm-hmm. And even though he's angry, and in spite of, or maybe because of it, he beat her to death, drove her out to the woods in her own car, is what they think, drove her off the side of the road and into that weird little tree thing. But it's pretty close to his home. So he was able to walk home, and it wouldn't have been terribly long. And then he made his way home, cleaned up, and probably took her body in his car and threw it off the ravine. Nicole's family felt relief after his sentencing and believed that justice was done. It didn't fix anything, but at least they had her body back, and John's somewhere that he can't hurt anyone ever again. Ooh, the sad part was they were talking about her kids.
Oh, God.
They live with her family, which is nice. I think her ex-husband, I had seen something that he's in Alaska, but the kids wanted to stay, in Washington. And so they stayed with her family. Oh, and they miss her terribly, and they really don't understand what happened.
I bet. How old were they again? They were little.
Like 8 and 4. So the little one might not even barely remember. The family said that they'll never forget the tiny ball of fire that was their beloved mother. It's hard to think of. I know.
But she did nothing. Like,
she did
nothing.
She did everything how she was supposed to do it.
Yes. And she was responsible with going out on a dating app thing. Like, hey, you guys all know where I'm going.
Yeah.
And who, and
she talked to him for a couple of weeks first. They were talking daily and chatting. And it was she felt like she really knew him, but I guess you
Right?
never really know anyone, which is a little creepy.
Well,
And he
oh,
really
God.
didn't have anything in his past to
Wow.
show that he was that violent. Like they said, time bomb.
I still want to know whose dog that was.
I know. Probably John's.
What's with the dog?
He's like,
well, yeah, they said it'd be a great place to bury a body.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know how they say sometimes they start with animals.
ooh.
What if he did something to that dog?
Oh. Yeah, that's creepy. I wouldn't
Sorry.
put it past him.
Right.
So I guess I could tell you my sources.
Yeah. For the big, dumb cowboy.
For the bigdumbcowboy.com. No. That's probably a real site. I'm going to have to check
It
it out.
probably is a real site.
It's probably a dating site.
Oh, God.
Bigdumbcowboys.com.
Oh, man.
FarmersOnly.com. I used the newstribune.com, covingtonreporter.com, cinemaholic.com. They're becoming a thing
I
for
know.
us. ComoNewsDaily.com, Daily Mail, People.com, and the TV show Swipe Right for Murder, Episode 2, Nicole White.
Sorry.
Swipe right for murder.
Swipe right for murder.
Or don't. I mean, I swipe right, I can get murdered.
Oh
Okay.
my God. I'm sorry. That's awesome.
I know, isn't that hilarious?
Swipe right for murder. Oh my God.
I know.
Well, that was a good story. Thanks for that one.
And thanks for listening to us.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to us. What did we do?
We got to do our favorite episode so far.
Oh, God.
A shout out. So a shout out to our favorite episode we've done so far.
Episode. You go first. What's your favorite episode so far?
I'm thinking mine is the tough lady who ends up killing her attacker. What was that one?
Oh gosh, deflection.
Deflection.
Was that it? Deflection?
Yes.
That was good.
That
Who
was
do
a
you work for?
That was
you here?
a good one. So if you guys haven't listened to that one, you got to listen to this badass woman one.
That
one
was
deflection.
Season 3, I think. One deflection.
Season 2 or season 3.
Excellent episode.
Yes. What about you?
God, what's my favorite? You know what?
so
My
far?
go-to, my favorite that I always go back to
Yes.
is one Daryl.
Daryl.
I laughed so hard.
That was
It's
such a
just
good one.
such a crazy story. And
There
I
were
feel
so
like
many good elements.
it's kind of where we kind of started to get into our groove after like a couple of episodes and stuff. And it was just, I mean,
It does involve everything.
that is one of those where it's just, you can't make this shit up.
No.
kind of
Ostriches.
situation, right?
Oh, it was bizarre.
If it was presented as a movie plot, they'd get laughed
they would
out of the
reject it.
office.
They
They'd
would be like, you've
"This
got to
isn't
be
believable at
joking.
all."
Yeah. That's true. That
was
one.
season 1. And so the technical skills aren't quite there and the audio isn't perfected, but the story
But the
is
story is so good. All right, so go back and listen to those too, you guys.
Go back and listen to those for sure.
Yes.
And
So
if
good.
there is a story that you've heard of or you know or you'd like to know more of,
Yeah, send to them.
contact us either you can get to us on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, or you can go to our email, but it's all ODFM podcast. So it's odfmpodcast@gmail.com or on Facebook and Twitter and all that. And yeah, we're always looking for another good, you can't make that shit up.
Yes, those tend to
Those
be
are my
the
favorites.
best. Mine
Those are
too.
my favorites.
Mine too. And I think that's the two we described. And,
Yeah,
and
that
one dick
was-
as well. That one's also
that is a good one too.
really shocking.
That's another one where you're
Yeah.
like, that's not
That
real.
can't be real. It was
It's
real.
not
Oh
how
my
that
God.
went down at all, is
No.
it?
It was. There's so many more stories to be found. So
Oh my
yeah,
God,
send
yeah.
them
So-
in.
Absolutely. Let us know if there's some other good ones, because we can only research so much. We need
Yeah.
let us know.
If you want to write one of our episodes for us, hells yes.
Oh,
We'll
be
read
my
it out
guest.
for you. Yeah.
yeah.
Send us sticker
Then we'll both
designs.
read it and be like, "What the?"
Yeah, and then we'll be equally shocked.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Or send in sticker designs and art. We'd love that shit. So
Oh yes, please. And if you can, subscribe to us wherever you're listening
Yes.
to us. But just share us. Let people know about us, because
like and share.
like and share, please.
Mhm.
And thank you again for listening. We appreciate all of
Thank
you for listening
We
to
love
us.
you guys.
Yes. Thank you. Right. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye. To see images from this story, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at ODFM Podcast, or on our website at odfmpodcast.com, where you'll also find a link to our merch store, where you can get awesome stuff like t-shirts, mugs, stickers, and more.
And if the weekly podcast just isn't enough to fill your ODFM cup full, join our fan club on Patreon for more content like minisodes, bloopers, and discounts at our merch store. That site is patreon.com/ODFM podcast.
And if you do love our bloopers and need more than we naturally do, which is a lot, buy us a glass of wine at buymeacoffee.com/ODFM podcast.
Thanks for listening to another episode of ODFM, hosted by Kelly DeVries and Jenna Swanson. Production and editing by Kelly DeVries. Theme music by Eric Swanson. ODFM is a satirical true crime podcast for entertainment purposes only. The stories you hear are serious and true. The comments and opinions are not. We apologize if any of our content is harmful or disrespectful.